Welcome to USA Ultimate and Ultiworld's presentation of the Beach of Dreams, a showcase matchup. Here we've got a men's game with the Live Ultimate ambassadors coming from Santa Monica, California. Beautiful beaches, great sand, and 4-on-4 Beach Ultimate between some of the top players. I'm Keith Rayner, joined by Jimmy Matsunaga for this game, and should be a lot of fun. I mean, these are some really high-level players. They're getting out for a second day of beach and really filling each other out as we see Team Grace.
Yeah, they're really looking good out there. The sun is shining. In white, Team Grit coming in and high-fiving their teammates with good energy.
Yeah, I think that there's really been a lot of energy. There certainly was on display in the first mixed game. I think players are excited to be here, having a lot of fun. The game is competitive. Players want to win, but it definitely seems like they're enjoying themselves first and foremost, as you would imagine when you're hanging out on the beach in California.
Definitely. And getting to play with friends that you don't see very often. All these players coming from across the U.S., coming together to play on the same team with players they usually don't get to play with.
So we will have, as I mentioned, 4-on-4. Got a 45-minute game, a 13-point cap with one timeout per half per side, with a 10-second stall between the two teams as we see Grit and Grace getting ready. Khalif El Salam shaking hands with some of the fans here, some of the youth players participating in the youth tournament. Chris Kocher with the first pull for Grit. Gabe Hernandez to the open side for Leandro Marks. Joe White on the sideline. Resets to Helton. Helton with room for Marks. You love to see Marks going back the other direction for Helton. Over the top backhand. Very difficult to defend that quick sideline-to-sideline play.
And one thing about Beach Ultimate is that you don't move quite as quickly in the sand. So creating open space and hitting your targets with your throws is going to be especially important in Beach Ultimate.
Hernandez getting ready to pull for Grace with the 1-0 lead. Mickle centers to his club teammate Kocher, both from New York Pony. Williams resets to Mickle in the middle.
Oh, he's scared. He won't throw it anymore.
Mickle with a long hold before Williams gets free underneath. And just a beautiful cross-field throw, inside backhand from Williams to Michael Ing. And the Pittsburgh Star, one of the few current college players in this game, gets the first goal for Grit.
Excellent spacing by the players as well. It's really striking to see how well these players keep themselves spaced out on the field, providing different options.
I think that when you're playing 4-on-4 or any sort, figuring out how to space yourself out, because you can attack with really small throws, you can attack with bigger throws, you can create a lot of room. It's a challenge to kind of readjust your style of play. Joe White over to Khalif El Salam. El Salam holding and wraps a backhand around for the reset. Trying to find some small space. A bid from Boxley. Not quite there, though, as Helton comes down with the goal. So 2 goals to start for Helton for Grace. Keeps them in the lead. All holds to start.
And some really clean offense played here so far by Team Grit and Team Grace.
You see the fans, including some of the All-Stars from the women's side. We've got a women's game, pair of mixed games as part of the Live Ultimate Ambassadors matchups. Cut downfield not available. Great, struggling to figure out the spacing, but great chemistry on display with the timing on that throw to Jack Williams. Clean offense for Grit. Things have been very clean, and I think this is a pretty stark contrast from what I got a chance to see in the first game, where Hucks were overthrown a lot as players hadn't quite gotten on the same page, but you can already see that there's a developing chemistry between various players on the team, and also that people have really started to dial in their throws a bit, as we hear from Carolyn Finney.
I think Beach Ultimate could definitely become bigger than it is today, and the thing that first jumps out to me when thinking about how Beach could grow is the strategy that's involved. I really like the strategy part of grass, and I just don't think many people spend time thinking about what that could be on Beach, myself included. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for it to be a very different sport than it is on grass, similar to how volleyball is very different indoors and on the beach, that it could look super different from how it looks today because we're trying to play the same as we play on grass, and you just can't move in the same ways. So.
Like you heard from Finney, I mean, it is an adjustment, trying to get used to a new format, a new environment, and I think you're seeing these players start to do that, as well as start to figure out the strategies that work for them.
Yeah, there's certainly a learning curve whenever the movement on the field slowing you down may affect the timing of your cuts and how you attack space as well.
We saw Hernandez consider doing the 2-foot jump for the brick mark before he tosses the forehand to Joe White for a quick hold for Grace. The 2-foot jump, I think, is a tradition for you get 2 standing broad jumps as your brick mark. Although I guess they decided to just choose a brick mark for this matchup.
Oh, that's interesting. So is that something a rule that's used in different beach formats?
I believe so. I mean, I've certainly seen the brick mark set up by the 2 standing broad jumps. And I will say, during the first mixed game, it seemed like Gabe Hernandez was getting the most joy of anyone out of getting to do those broad jumps. But perhaps we'll see them bring it back. It was a little bit mixed yesterday, too, as the teams try to figure out which one they like the most. Nice throw from Mickle, and out of the end zone, back to Mickle. Helton doesn't like that the most. Swats that back to the sand. Nice playmaking from Helton, and this group for Grace can certainly make plays. Khalif El Salam capable. El Salam, what a playmaker, and certainly a showman. You can see he's always interacting with his teammates in the crowd, getting people pumped up. Even the audience back at home. Khalif knows how to get people excited.
A fiery character for sure.
Helton with a great block on that point to help set up the score. Helton's been perhaps the most impactful player through the first few frames of this one. Gets the assist on that throw to El Salam. So our first break, Grit's now down 4-2. And they'll be in search of a hold here.
Khalif El Salam on the pole once again. Chris Gotcher picks up.
Kind of a side stack look from Grit, looking to create some room to cut into. But it's all Williams and Kotcher to start before Boxley's open underneath.
Yeah, and it's really nice how the players are cutting to the sideline to open up the space in front of the disc before going back to attack it. It's giving them great angles for different types of throws. That inside from Byron Liu there to Christian Boxley for the score.
Talk about exploring the angles. Liu, the Emory product, hits Boxley from Georgetown. It's 2 East Coast players now applying their trade out here in California, although Liu has been in the Bay Area playing with Revolver for quite a few years, so doubt this is his first trip to the beach. El Salam takes the centering pass, and a similar kind of setup from the Grace offense. El Salam back with the disc. Cross field now to Marks. El Salam taken off. Really a beautiful throw from Leandro Marks to set up El Salam. Just both players correctly identifying the space at the same time.
And Khalif El Salam with the dancing celebration for the score.
We call that. I mean, the guy likes to make a show.
It makes for a fun game of Ultimate to watch.
I think we're gonna probably get some more celebrations out of Khalif during the course of this one.
Hope so.
Williams pump fakes to Boxley. Now into near the end zone. Nice job by Boxley to get the disc off the sideline and open up the field a little bit for the Grid offense. And the give and go by Jack Williams gets the goal. and looks a bit gassed after the run.
Jack Williams there, running up to looking like he might bid for it, but deciding to run it out.
The former UNC Wilmington star. Looks like he's I don't know if he called for the timeout himself or his teammates said Jack might need to catch his breath, or we all do. So looks like the two teams are going to take a timeout and collect themselves, maybe talk over a little bit of the strategy.
I think we could probably be a little bit more aggressive to try to move it to the break side. And then get a continuation cut that way. But we don't have to change much. So that's good.
So, like, maybe we should just, like, try to push it, bounce it to the guy once we're stuck on the break side.
Always fun to get a chance to hear the players kind of going over their strategy, hear how they communicate with one another, hear how they talk about the game, especially players of this high level. I mean, you've got most of these people have represented the U.S. in international competition. You got club and college champions, Callahan winners, Player of the Year winners. Really a full trophy case for the players involved in this game.
Certainly, and it's phenomenal how these players are so young, and many of them have multiple accolades to their name.
Decorated athletes of the Grace team trying to get to the end zone right now. Helton, high release forehand for Leandro Marks. Marks had a tremendous club season this past year. Won Ultiworld's Breakout Player of the Year in the club division for his work with Portland Rhino, where he helped that team really play their best at the end of the season. But Marks is one of a number of U24 players in this match.
Michael Ing there, another U24 player from the mixed cycle in 2018 and 2019, playing in this men's game.
As I mentioned, one of the handful of current college players. He's been matched up with Joe White over the course of this point, another one of the current college players still around. Both of these players are, of course, near the top of the division. Already established club stars, let alone college, where I certainly want to have one of my fresh rookies having to cover one of these guys.
It's incredible that these guys are so young, still in college. And it's phenomenal that the high school players that are at this Beach of Dreams tournament get an opportunity to watch these players who aren't too far away from them in terms of what's next in their ultimate careers.
I think that's actually one of the coolest, unique things about the current ultimate environment is that you have elite world caliber players interacting with brand new players. As we see an interception. in a way that you just don't see in other sports. I mean, you have people who go to the club championships and then the next week go to a fall practice and try and teach someone how to throw a forehand. Maybe those chances are decreasing, but I love that about this game is you have these top-level players interacting with brand-new players, including at tournaments like this where these players have been able to hang out with and cheer on high school youth players who otherwise would never have access to players of this talent.
Absolutely. It's accessible to them.
Grace, you want to take a timeout? Yes.
After some additional discussion, it seems like the two teams are arguing about who should take a timeout.
Grace takes the timeout.
And I think Grace lost that battle as they're going to huddle it up.
Right now, they are meeting us open side, so we are overcommitting, and then they're throwing these IO shots that we can't catch up to. These IOs. And out to space, we're usually more slippery. We're not taking the layouts on those inside spaces. We have to be tight enough and air enough. Everyone catches it, and they stand like this, and they want to pivot from pushing off at the same time. So you can always start flatter.
Seeing inside of a team huddle is a really cool and unique opportunity. You don't get to see the inside of other teams, like what kinds of things they talk about and how they address their team. So I think it's really interesting to be able to see that in this Beach of Dreams game amongst so many elite players.
Worth noting, you may have seen Nikki Spiva for Team Grace, who's I guess the reverse of not cleated up. He has his shoes on while everybody else is barefoot, not participating in this one. So Grace a little bit shorthanded, but that hasn't stopped them from seizing the early lead and keeping this one very close, all even at sixes. Two teams fighting to take half. Kocher, Boxley, Liu, and Williams working together. End zone really difficult with this little space.
Yep, and Team Grace and Light hitting the ground a couple of times too before they punch in that score there.
some laughter, some fatigue. It's all a display as Boxley gets the toe-in goal to take the half for Grit. So a wise timeout, perhaps, or unwise maybe. Wise of Grit to kind of force Grace to take the timeout, egg them on, and come out and score to take the halftime lead. 7-6, very close one here between Grit and Grace. A lot of highlight plays, a lot of fun to be had. We're looking forward to what we'll get in the second half out of these two teams. We'll be back in just a moment.
Every time the pressure rises, we play better. Let's go, take down the trail.
An Ultiworld subscription gets you closer to the players and personalities you care about with game video, in-depth written and video analysis,
He's going to take off deep, but what he does is very simple.
documentary shorts,
And we've played Brute Squad before, and it just feels a little bit harder to lose this year.
and a whole lot more. To get your subscription or learn more, go to ultiworld.com/subscribe.
Welcome back, Ultimate fans, to the Beach of Dreams presented by USA Ultimate and Ultiworld. Keith Rayner and Jimmy Matsunaga back for the second half of the men's game.
Do we have any, Nikki, do you have any like deep looks early in a full play that we should be looking at?
Yeah, I mean, I love just like starting like a little fake side stack, run one off and then one deep.
Yeah.
Because if they're playing off, you can curl it in.
Yeah.
Like, especially, I'd say whoever Jimmy is on,
Right.
he's not ready to go deep, especially if that person should maybe think about being the ISO if they're there.
Great. I don't think we can possibly overvalue 1 yard swings, either to the open side or the break side, that end up getting us across a half of a field. Every time we've done that, it's always opened up something really big after that.
Like I was saying, I think sometimes we try to like dance, and that's never gonna work. If you switch the field and someone just straight lines across, you don't have anything. Switch the field against straight lines, like those like side to sides are gonna work way better.
So a chance to hear the players discussing both picking on Jimmy Mickle and switching the fields, which seems to be a strategy both teams want to attack with, really getting sideline to sideline.
We're about ready to get the second half underway. Team Grit 7, Team Gray 6.
Second half underway. Pull from Joe White. Ing gets the first under. We see that side-to-side movement of the disc. Nice crossfield throw from Mickle to Kocher, just outside the end zone. And I don't think Joe White got a piece of that, but able to apply enough pressure to keep Mickle from being able to make the catch.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see these players make some of the cuts that would typically work on an ultimate field, but not really gaining separation from the cut. Michael Ing, for example, with try to stop cut, but not really gaining separation from that cut.
Unclear right now if Gabe Hernandez was able to keep that one in. He and Byron Liu conferring. And Khalif El-Salam loves it, so it sounds like it's a Grace goal. I mean, it looked like Hernandez maybe took the line with him.
Ooh, but a foot on the other side of the line. Straddling.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, but the players agreed on it, so we'll have to agree with them. Williams collects the first throw.
Nice goose.
Gets it back on the cross field.
Still all IO, around. It's all IO.
Williams looking for options. Played with Raleigh Ring of Fire. Kocher able to grab that one despite the pressure from Marks. And finally, some room to the other side, but the throw a little too tall for Ing.
Nice push pass there from Jack Williams. And Boxley looking to Michael Ing, but not quite connecting on a pass that's slightly too high for Michael Ing.
The push pass, I think, has a bad rep. People consider it this kind of showy throw, but it's nice to be able to throw a short throw on the forehand side that has a lot of spin on it, but is still easy to catch.
Yeah, and the spin on the push pass, I think, is key. The wobbly things or things that don't have a ton of spin on it, I think, are more difficult to catch. So a push pass that's not thrown well is probably what gets the throw the bad rap.
I like just flick.
Yeah, keep flick. Stay flick. We're coming on 4.
Sweet. Perfect. Clock in. Dumps. No easy dumps.
Grit on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Grit.
So quick jump into the huddle there. Team's talking about how to apply some reset pressure, and that push pass that you were mentioning, Jimmy, very useful sometimes in that reset space if you have to get off a short throw. Hernandez checks it in. Boxley on the mark, and a little bit of poaching downfield from Team Grit. Hernandez with a big inside window to hit Helton. He drops it off for El-Salam. El-Salam abuses the USA Ultimate sign out of excitement.
El Salam certainly winning the celebrations after each point.
I don't know if he might be undefeated in that regard in his career. I know we've talked about it a lot, but I think it's one of the things that stands out about El Salam and has made him someone that players really attach to. I mean, you see the youth players behind him enjoy seeing the intensity and energy and the joy that El Salam displays when he plays the game.
It's really something special.
El Salam, a former star at the University of Washington, and played with Seattle Mixtape for a few years, and title contention for many of those, but don't know if he will this year. He's actually moved to San Diego, and he'll be coaching the San Diego Super Bloom in the first year of the Women's League, the Western Ultimate League.
Very exciting to hear that the Western Ultimate League will have formed and compete against other professional women's team on the West Coast.
We're all tied up at 8.
Kocher into the end zone for Lou there for the hold, but Western Ultimate League joining the Premier Ultimate League on the East Coast, so there's women's professional ultimate all over the country.
Jimmy Nickel on the pole for Team Grit.
Christian. Down. That's my call.
Joe White gets the centering pass. The Western Ultimate League, Jimmy, you're speaking to, adding this new women's league after the inaugural season of the Premier Ultimate League last year, and now there'll be similar action going on the West Coast where this game's being played.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see that develop. It's kind of echoes how other professional sports have different East and West Coast divisions. So really exciting to see that happening in Women's Ultimate.
We'll see some players from those leagues in the women's and mixed games. Boxley looking to the open side. Mickle able to squeeze free in the reset space. Slings a forehand to the other side. Ing drops it off for Lou for the goal. Back-to-back goals for Byron Lou for Grit.
That's Grit 9, Race 8.
That throw just dying on Helton a bit. Ing makes sure of that one. And then Mickle just able to extend to such a wide range with his pivots and his release points. Really going to make his mark work and able to step out and fire a inside forehand across the field that sets up the assist. Another timeout. We'll take a quick break.
When I look back and think, I got to do all these incredible things, I think so much of the reason those existed was because there were a lot of people pushing to make this more accessible for everyone to watch, to view, to attend in a stadium, to not film on a ladder behind the fields. That changed the landscape of Ultimate in so many ways that I think, some good, some bad, however you want to look at it, but in a lot of ways like that, taking it from a grassroots to allowing it to be more accessible to a larger audience, I think completely shifted what anyone could do within the sport in a small period of time.
And Jimmy Mickle talking a little bit about accessibility through growth, expanding the amount of playing opportunities and the accessibility of those via a bigger environment where there are more players, more excitement, more fans, all those things enabling an increase in playing opportunities. And that's a big part, I think, of what the Beach of Dreams is about, is hoping to grow beach and youth opportunities for the California area. Helton looking deep for Tim Morrill. Morrill with a big layout. Morrill, the fitness expert, showing off his fitness, takes off for the pancake catch. See if he got this one in bounds or not. What do you think, Jimmy?
Looks like he had his toe down and just 1 foot, so I think that was in.
Oh, the close-up view definitely in for Morrill. the players arrive at the same conclusion, although they don't have the benefit of the same kind of visual capacity that our production crew offers. But a big score for Moral.
A really fantastic bid, and Moral is no stranger to the Beach Ultimate game, having played with the Boracay Dragons of the Philippines.
Yeah, Moral's actually probably one of the most experienced players in Beach. Although Jonathan Helton, Goose Helton, also a well-traveled player. He's gone coast to coast. Grew up playing in Florida, but he's had a very successful game in this one as well.
Hey, that's USAU 2021 rule set
So,
right there, everybody.
Moral coming down with the goal from Helton, all tied at 9-9.
8 digits. Dog. Huge.
Marks with the pull. Marks is one of the best pullers in the club men's division, but I don't know if that power and range translates exactly to the Beach game where you need a little more finesse.
Looks like a little bit of creativity was he experimented with on that pull there.
All right, the official Jimmy Mickle brick mark.
More round on this one. More round on this one, Goose. More round.
Mickle jumps to the brick, hits Williams. Williams getting the give and goes. He's getting a lot of touches before Marks gets a touch of his own, a defensive touch with the block.
Picks up.
And gets the bookends on the crossfield blade from El Salam. A valuable goal for Grace late in this one to go up 10-9.
That was an excellent 1-2 punch there by Leandro Marks with a really nice bid for the D. Really clean, staying in position on the back of his player. We'll get a second look at that.
Marks able to time that so that he could burst just in front of Lou, get past him for the block with a safe play.
Hey, Steve. Come on. You need to walk away from this one.
Marks
We'll understand if it's time
has earned a reputation as a grinding defender. I think D-line was really where he made his name, but as his offensive skill set has grown, he has seen his reputation grow as well. And there's a story from college. His teammates on Oregon Ego called him the sheriff. Supposedly he basically apprehended a suspect fleeing local law enforcement. So playing defense, it's been always been Marks' calling card.
That's an excellent story and nickname for better than most that I've heard.
Yeah, there are a lot of lame nickname stories in Ultimate. I would say the most common story is, oh, my teammates just decided that should be my nickname. But when you got a great story like that, your nickname is well earned.
Definitely.
Grace not able to earn a score that would give them a 2-goal lead. Instead, Grit able to work it to the other side for Williams for another goal.
Chris Gotcha to the end zone. Jack Williams chases it down for the Team Grit score.
We've had a couple of 2-goal leads in the first half, but no such advantage to be found in the second half. So we see another look at Marks with a back-to-back points with really impactful blocks.
So explosive on the bid.
And that's on sand. I mean, he had to come out of a substance that does not give much back to you. But you see the quickness from Williams on the give and go.
Good pressure there by Hernandez.
So 10-10. Grit in need of a break. Not much time left for them to get it. El Salam centers to White. White coming off a really superb performance in the club division with Chicago Machine. They made it to the club championship match. Weren't able to take the win, but Joe White able to take the goal with what looked like ease for that one to give a 11-10 lead to Grace.
A nice undercut opening up the deep space for Joe White to attack there. And a soft spike back onto the field.
Joe White, not the kind of player you want to give a lot of space to. Something of an offensive wonderkind. He's developed so much as a thrower, and I think we saw that on display on his last tour with the under-24 team. But, I mean, you can see he's a long, tall guy. He's really difficult to defend in the air. And that is a really challenging matchup for any defender. Nickel working out of his own end zone over to Williams. Boxley kind of operating in isolation right now, a field as the offense materializes. Boxley with a throw to space. Hernandez losing his footing on the sand. And then up. I think Boxley might have opened up Kotcher's up line with the blade fake. Kotcher's defender, Leandro Marks, bites, maybe looking for another one of those spectacular blocks. And that opens up Kotcher to get his first goal of the game to go with his 4 assists.
It's fun to see this Hernandez-Boxley matchup. The two of them played not too long ago in the Color of Ultimate game in Atlanta and matched up against each other, but Boxley getting the better of Hernandez on this point. Hope to see that again next time, and maybe Hernandez with more of an opportunity on the next one.
Yeah, both players spent some time in the Atlantic Coast as well, playing with smaller schools. Hernandez, more famously known for his time at Stanford, and then played 1 year with Johns Hopkins last year. We'll see if he can use some of the skills he acquired in the AC on this double game point for Grace. Helton looking for Hernandez. Now here's White. Holsters a Scuba. And you can sense both teams. A bit of tension, but then Helton with the little around flip to White in the back of the end zone. White sends the disc sailing as Grace wraps this one up. A tight matchup throughout, but it's going to be Grace who gets the win in this one.
A really fantastic game from both sides. Really awesome to see both teams smiling at the end of the game, high-fiving each other.
We've got just a few minutes before the next round of youth games begin. Oh my goodness. Hopefully you're warmed up and
We
ready
see
to go if your game starts
Jack
in 3
Williams
minutes.
on that, or excuse me, Joe White on that final goal. Lou with kind of a desperate effort in the hopes of getting there. Eats some sand, but you got to do what you can on that final throw. So a close game. Haven't really seen anybody open up any big leads in these couple of matchups so far, but Grace takes it. Team Grace has the edge in these first couple of games now, having also won the mixed matchup, although I will say the mixed game's not composed of quite the same makeup of players as this one. But that's going to do it for our men's matchup here at the Beach of Dreams. Grit and Grace, who will win out? 2 more games to go. We've got a women's game. We've got a mixed game. Should be a lot of fun as the stars of the division show off their skills in front of some excited youth fans. For Jimmy Matsunaga, this is Keith Rayner. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time.